So Dak Prescott after the game was told that Cowboys fans, like ripping Cowboys fans for throwing stuff at Cowboys players as they're leaving, and then somebody's like, actually weren't they throwing it? They weren't throwing it at the Cowboys players. They were throwing it at the officials. He was like, oh, well, good for them. I commend them for that. And it's like, Dak, even if you're trying to be funny, you cannot say that. The NBA Referee Association came out and tweeted earlier tonight that they condemn Dak's comments and that the NFL should, and I'm good for them. They're like,
yeah. Let's just point the finger at everyone else. All right, we haven't forgotten who was the guy who was cheating on games. Yeah, okay. Hey, how about you guys stay in your own court? You know what I'm saying? You guys not sure this is the deal.
Like, you have games on right now. Why are you tweeting about Dak?
Yeah.
And then and Dak Prescott tweeted at 7:45 on Tuesday night, basically right when we started the show. I deeply regret the comments I made regarding the officials after the game on Sunday. I was caught up in the emotion of a disappointing loss, and my words were uncalled for and unfair.
You know what that is? That's just a reaction, realizing that what I said was dumb. It was emotional. He just admitted to that. But it's also the feeling when you have a play that goes wrong like that, it's on national television for everyone to see. You're in a corner, man. Because, after the game, the only questions being answered are who called the play and what were you thinking? Why were you trying to give the ball to the center to then snap it? Like, we've been through this 1,000 times doing this every single week in practice throughout college, high school, even, the pros, obviously. Like, give the ball to the official. Everyone knows that. And so he probably felt dumb. He probably felt emotional. He probably felt drained considering what he came back from the year before.
Yep.
And he was just like just backed into a corner and felt like he had to take a swipe at anyone who was coming at him. So I can see that side of it. It's just foolish. I mean, again, the worst part about it is that either he didn't want to or couldn't in that moment say, hold on a second, we're not going to run this, and second guess it. Because it was from a stopped clock. We kind of forget that.
Yeah.
They moved 40 yards in 18 seconds. And then it was this period of time before that play where you could have had a chance to do something different if you wanted to. Like, I imagine if you first brought that up, I'd be like, wait, what? No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you, by the way, just quickly on the play, do you think that when they were running it in practice that they were utilizing people to play the role of the officials?
I mean, there was probably some equipment manager or someone doing it, but the equipment manager most likely wasn't in the position that an actual official would be.
Right, exactly.
The clock's not being as run quite as tight.
He's not an 80-year-old man. I mean,
well, and beyond that, I mean, the players, because it's not the same type of intensity, they're not thinking like that too, like find the official to give them the ball to then spot it, right? So there's all those things. I mean, hell, the official, a lot of times in those scenarios in practice, they've got multiple balls. If it's an equipment manager who's back there doing it, right? So he's already got another ball with him that he's setting down. It's not the ball that was from, in the field of play. And by the way, that particular play, I again, this is more like we have a timeout. I'm going to run up, get what I can to make it a closer field goal, which you'd say, well, who would ever run that defense versus it, right? So I've never seen a scenario where this makes that much sense. I mean, I don't even know, by the way, why you just wouldn't run a sweep to the right, to the outside of the sideline. Like, what was the thought of what is the three-man front? Just because they're guarding the sidelines doesn't mean you can't take a 3-by-1 set and release your 3 wide receivers out to go block for you and let Dak run out of bounds. Like, why does that play have to be a play that's directly in the middle of the field where I can assure you you're going to then have to clock the football, where you don't even have an instance where you can sit there and say, all right, we might have a chance to get out of bounds and stop the clock here. I understand they'll say, well, it's harder then to get the ball back to the hash to down. It seemed pretty hard regardless of depending on where the official was.
So that study in Seattle, you're saying that you guys figured out that any play is going to require 16 seconds, or like
if you
obviously if it's like a 2-yard
with 100% certainty, all right, run a play and then run up and clock it with no timeouts to have a shot at the end zone or a field goal. 16 seconds was the cutoff. Okay. Anything below that, you're gambling. You're basically saying this is either a last play resort, and that's fine. But the problem with that logic here is you were already in position to throw a Hail Mary. All right. So it's one thing if you're going to sit there and say that when you're like at the -40 or -35, right? But in this case, you were already in position to give yourself a shot. They ruined it because they took that risk with 14 seconds left.